everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Free Thought Podcast. I am your co-host, Chad Chow.
And I'm your other co-host, Amelia.
Today is a special episode. We did a listener Q&A, meaning that today we will be answering your questions.
So we had you guys send in questions over Instagram and on Google Form, and we actually got a lot of responses. So thank you guys so much for that. And we're just going to start running through a couple of the ones that I have on my phone. First one we have here is opinions on. We're coming straight to it. Opinions on white teachers saying the N-word while teaching. So what comes to my mind is like during an English or history class or something like that.
These are just my experiences with the word, I guess, being used in the context of a class. And so in 8th grade, we read To Kill a Mockingbird, and in that word, and the N-word is used many times throughout the book. And our English teacher told us not to say it. And every time, I guess we got to that word, we would just skip over it. Or, we just wouldn't say it. So, do you have any experiences with it?
So, my personal experience with like the N-word being in books that are being studied in class or whatever, we read To Mice and Men, I think that's what it's called, in 8th grade. And I also read To Kill a Mockingbird. And in both, we were told to either just not say it or substitute it for like man or other things. And the teachers didn't say it either. I mean, we live in a really liberal state, so this is no surprise. Mm-hmm. But I've heard about people who, like, the teachers just said it without hesitation because it's simply like a part of the book in their words. And personally, now that we've given our experiences, I'm going to jump into my thoughts. I think it is not okay in any circumstance. I don't care if it's part of the book. I don't care if it's part of the historical time period. That's not the time period we're in now. And so it's not like you need to say it for full effect. Everyone knows what the N-word is, and if you do a good job educating your students on the meaning and the significance of it, they also know what it means and what it's about. And I think that there's in no circumstance is it necessary to say it in order to get the point across. If you do a good job educating your students, there's no need to say it, and even if you don't, there's no need to say it. It's never excusable. That's my view on it. And I think either just not saying it or substituting it for something else that is appropriate is not just better, but the only acceptable method in my view.
You have a pretty powerful stance on it. I don't know. We've in our grade, at least in high school, in 9th grade, we read a book called The Fire Next Time, and It was a pretty powerful book. It also used the word a couple of times, but I think we were told we could substitute it with the word Negro or man, or we could skip over it. However, like we wanted to do it. And then a student said the word when she was trying to make a point. I think she said this blank lives in a ghetto or a shack or something like that. I don't exactly remember the exact words, but it was something along those lines. I wasn't in the class. I just heard that this happened. The teacher didn't really, make any response, didn't really react or anything. He kind of just let the class like move on as if she never said it. And I've talked to like different people about this. Some say that the teacher, what he did or what they did is correct, and some say that it shouldn't be overlooked. The student should be punished.
What do you think? Do you think it should be? Do you think the teacher did the right thing? And also, like, again, what is your answer to this question? What are your opinions? Do you think how do you feel about this question? So, okay, so thank you. Yeah, no. So definitely providing your experiences is super valuable, but in general, what is your final answer to this question? Is it okay? Is it ever acceptable? What are your opinions on teachers or students even saying the N-word while in classrooms?
They just shouldn't say it. In my mind, the only reason why you would say it in the classroom maybe for like dramatic effect in the context of the book. But you don't necessarily need that dramatic effect. You know, it can, like you said, it can be taught through the student's understanding of the significance of that word. Yeah, there's not much else to be said.
100% agree. I think we both agree, and we both conclude that it's just never okay. So to answer your question, opinions on students or teachers saying and while teaching, never acceptable and should never happen. All right, now let's move to the second question. Okay, so the next question we have is, what are some challenges you think the next generation will face? So when we first got this question, I was a little bit unsure of whether this person meant our generation, as in like Gen Z, or if they meant the generation that comes after us. So, I mean, I guess we could give a quick answer for both of us, for both generations. It's pretty clear what our challenges are. It's things like climate change. It's things like, I mean, it's everything that's going on in modern politics right now, and all the crises that are going on across the world. And then in terms of the next generation, 2 points I want to bring up, and then I definitely want to hear your opinion on this or whatever else you have to add, Chad. But 2 points that specifically I want to bring up for the next generation, as in the one after us. One, climate change, because yes, while I do really, really, really hope that our generation and our generation does something significant to combat climate change, I sadly think that this is going to be an issue that's going to be passed down, and perhaps an even bigger issue by then, which is kind of sad to think about. And then the other one is, and I just came up with this a second ago, and that is this summer I took a class in AI, and we talked a lot about how AI is improving rapidly. It's improving rapidly, and it's actually replacing a lot of jobs already, and it will be at a much faster rate in the future. And so there will be a question of a lot of like manual labor jobs that have been taken over by AI, and where those people who would have normally gotten those jobs will go. So those are two very like future forward things that are going on, and that will definitely be something that the next generation will have on their plate. Anything to add, Chad? Any other things that you could bring up? It's totally fine if not.
When you first said AI, I thought you meant like, you know, robots and like, you know, what the average person thinks of AI when they first hear it, you know? And you took a little bit of a different route. I think the next generation's lifestyle is going to be completely different than at least the one we currently have. It's in a couple of years, of course, no one can tell what the future is going to be like, but I know Elon Musk is working on a chip that can be like, literally you drill a tiny hole into someone's brain or into someone's skull and then insert a chip, and that chip can like is like Bluetooth or something and can like do things based on what you're thinking of. It sounds crazy, wow. But he is working on it, and wow. It sounds like it can be achieved in the next decade or something like that.
Do you seriously think that's going to happen?
I mean, I definitely feel like people are going to buy it. It sounds so far-fetched, but just the fact that it could be like a thing in like 10, 20 years, that's crazy, at least in my mind. And he's thinking of like colonizing Mars soon. So
on that note, do you mind if I jump in really quickly?
Yeah, that's fine.
I was talking to my dad the other day, and we were at dinner or something, and he said, I think my mom and I were both at the table, and he said, I would not be surprised if like you go to the moon over the next 40 years. And I was like, oh, okay, Dad, like, all right. Like, okay.
Like, it sounds possible.
And I was yeah, I mean, the first time, like, my first reaction to when he said that was, yeah, sure. Like, no, I never have I ever thought in my mind that I would ever leave this planet. Like, that's just never something that I thought was within the realm of possible for me or anyone who really like wasn't an astronaut. But and then I asked him like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, no, I think it's incredible. It's like very, very possible. So do I believe him? Not really. But the fact that people are saying things like this is exciting. It's like it almost feels like we reached a new high speed of growth, and that we're on the cusp of so many things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Scientifically, and in so many regards, actually.
Yeah. So I guess in the future, they're definitely gonna. There's definitely a lot of things that we grew up with that that they're not going to be able to experience. I know personally that when I was younger, I used to watch TV every time I came home, but now, like, I guess the younger generation doesn't even watch TV anymore. It's all about Netflix and Hulu and like all sorts of streaming, all sorts of different streaming platforms. So it's just like, and the fact that our world, at least in technology, can change so rapidly in just a couple of years is just insane.
Do you, other than the ones we mentioned, before we move on, I'm trying to think of if I have any more that I can think of. Do you have any other challenges that you can see the next generation facing?
Not really challenging, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just me or the fact that we live in a blue state, but I feel like also a lot of our younger generation are also leaning towards the left. I mean, most of it. I can't.
Oh yeah,
not all.
that's statistically backed.
Yeah. So I guess one challenge in the future would probably be our Democrat and Republican system. You know, if all of these young voters are going to be voting for the left, then who's going to be voting for the right? Will the right just become obsolete, right? And so, I think there definitely going to be a couple of people still right leaning, but
it won't go away. It will never disappear, at least not in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
But yeah, to add on to your point, we are seeing new highs in like liberalism in our generation,
especially in the youth.
Okay, so when we got this question, I looked at it and I was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be a hard one." Oh my god. Okay, so is it unethical to adopt a child or have a child if you know you're going to die when they are younger, less than 23? So as in, if you know you're going to die before they turn 23. And Chad, do you want to start on this one, or should I start?
Wait, hold on. So just a clarification question. So you know you're going to die before 23 years.
No. So before the child is 23. So how about, I actually think when we were discussing this question, it might be helpful to have an anecdote in mind, or not an anecdote, okay. A hypothetical. So let's imagine that a couple is slightly older. Maybe the husband is in his 50s or something like that, late 50s. And then the wife is slightly younger, obviously.
Okay.
Like, and then they either have or adopt a child, but the husband is sick or terminally ill. That's like the first example that comes to my mind when I read this question. And he knows he's going to die within, let's say, the next 10 to 20 years. Is that ethical to have a child or adopt a child?
Jesus, terminally ill.
Yeah. I mean, you're having the exact same reaction that I had when I saw this.
Yeah. On a lighter note, my uncle, he's like in his 50s, and he just had a kid like last year or something like that. So it's definitely that's.
So wait, so let's say that they're in their 60s. It can be anything. They could even be in their 30s. It could be terminally ill. Let's make this example that we're discussing the example of terminal illness.
What do you mean by it being unethical, though? Like,
well, I'm gonna guess that the person who asked this question meant unethical, as in, should you really be bringing a child into this world if they won't have a parent for as long as they quote unquote should? And personally, here are my thoughts on this. I know this is not a satisfactory answer. People like to have answers that are in terms of absolutes, but this is an answer that a question that I will say it depends too. It depends if does this child have two parents? And if they do, if only one parent will die when they are younger, does the other parent have the financial means to help this child even after one parent has passed away? Does this other parent have the capability to take care of this child? What kind of what kind of like situation is this kid living in? Is this kid ill themselves? Does this kid have things that make them, what am I trying to say? Does this kid have like medical complications? Like it really depends on, it depends on how, for lack of a better word, like high maintenance this kid is. Like not as in like, oh, this kid is fussy and this kid is very like easygoing. I mean, high maintenance is in like what types of things are they born with, stuff like that.
Medical reasons.
Medical reasons, exactly. Can this kid be taken care of by one parent? Also, it depends on, again, how old will this kid be when the parent dies? Because I know this question says up to 23, but like I do think it really depends. Is this is this parent gonna live until their kid is 20, or is this parent gonna live until their kid is 2? It's such a complex question that it's hard to give an absolute answer. Does that make sense? What's your opinion?
Well, I just wanted to add on to a point that you made. The first being, you said that can if one parent does pass away or leaves or whatever, or doesn't become a parent anymore, can that other parent I guess sustain the child's life? And that immediately reminded me of Jeff Bezos. Like I'm not really sure what happened to his dad. I just know he grew up with a single mom who was 17 when she had him, and didn't get that much money. And so I guess, was it ethical for him to be born? I guess he's a pretty good example of this question, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't know about Jeff Bezos' history. I mean, regardless of whether it's Jeff Bezos or not, when I asked my mom actually this question before, when I first got it, because I was like, wow, like I don't know if I can answer this without others' opinions. Like I've never pondered this kind of question before. And she said, well, she talked about a friend that my dad and she has, who died of brain cancer when his child was like a toddler, and he and obviously he wasn't trying to like the point of having a child isn't solely to be there throughout their whole lives. I mean, of course that's important, but like I don't necessarily think that if you die, you should be looked at as unethical for knowing that you were going to die and still having a child. And on that note, while you were talking, I did look up the definition of ethical because I want to bring up another point. I kind of have an objection to this question. I think that what we're talking about right now, is it ethical, quote unquote ethical? We're actually discussing a different question. How messy is it? Like, is it really? Because I don't think ever like having a child, as long as it can be as long as the child can be supported, is unethical. I don't think you're a bad person or an immoral person as long as you can support this child, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you can't, I mean, I don't want to say like just because you're poor, it's immoral to have a child. I don't know. I just don't think it's immoral to have a child if you're willing to give them care. You know what I mean? I don't think it's ever like, I don't think it's unethical. And I don't want to say ever because that's such a powerful word. And again, things like this don't come in absolutes. But I don't know. I don't think you can call this unethical. You can certainly call it messy. You can certainly call it nuanced. But unethical? I don't know. Because I'm looking up the definition of ethical, and it says relating to the moral principles of the branch of knowledge dealing with these. So like as in morals and what's just, what is right. And yeah, no, I don't think that having a child when knowing you're going to die when they're younger, like you're not going to be there for much of their life, is necessarily unethical, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it makes you a bad or corrupted person.
I mean, yeah, in the situations that you brought up, yeah, it doesn't seem like it tests a person's ethics, but there are children who are born and their parents just leave them right away. They're just like put in a cardboard box and then just left on the street.
Right, but that's like
while they're toddlers.
Then
die. Yeah, but this
just that's abusive, and abuse is never okay.
Yeah, but testing, once you brought up the point of morality, it actually reminded me of someone I've met. The person was adopted from China, and they were literally just dumped on the street while they were a toddler. So of course this is gonna those people who had their biological parents don't seem pretty unethical in this case.
Right. I agree with you. Like, abandoning your child is unethical. However, we have to make the distinction. Abandoning your child is a choice you make, right? Whereas you don't choose to die. You're not like, oh, I'm going to die and deliver.
Yeah.
And I just think that, yes, you're right, but it seems almost irrelevant to the discussion. No offense at all. It seems irrelevant because it's two, like you said, it's two separate issues of morality. And right now we're talking
that's true.
Passing away, which is extremely different.
Ouch, my feelings.
Sorry. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure the people were listening, not thinking that we were equating dying to like. But I know that's not what you meant to do. Anyways, I think you basically said what we can. Essentially, it's not ethical, but it's certainly messy, and that's the first point. And the second point is it really depends. Mm-hmm. Biden or Trump?
I honestly think the person who asked this question,
Chad,
if they do listen to this podcast, they know you're for Biden. I think they're asking
everyone should be.
I think
Chad, it's not a hard question at all. This is not a hard question.
It might not be a hard question, but I think it's important, as at least for me, as a podcast host. I want to give the listeners an unbiased truth or story, and I want to provide both sides of the argument so they can formulate their own opinions, not based on my opinions. So even though this answer is easy, I will not be expressing my political opinion, just for the reason that I don't want to be biased or seem biased and sway people's opinions because I'm biased. So sorry about that, but yeah.
So our next question is the trolley problem. And just in case any of the listeners here don't know what the trolley problem is or aren't familiar with it, essentially it's a question of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, I think I'm remembering this sort of, I'm going off of my memory and that could be wrong. It's just if you were driving a trolley and you were headed on a path that if you continued on it, the 10 people in the trolley would die. I think you would crash into something. But if you swerved, you would have to run over someone on the tracks. Essentially, it's a question of, would you kill one person to save 10? And I have my thoughts on that, but let's hear yours first.
Or kill 10 people and save one.
Exactly.
I think, I mean, common sense would say to save those 10 lives instead of that one, right? Because you either can kill 10 people or you kill one person. That's what it comes down to. And so I don't know if there are any exceptions, but yeah, you're gonna save the lives of those 10 people over that one person.
I 100% agree with that. A lot of times I've talked to people about this before, or I've talked with people about this before, and sometimes people are conflicted. I mean, obviously it depends on the person, but sometimes people are conflicted about this. And if anyone is listening to this and is really lost on which option they would pick, kill 10 people to save one or kill one person to save 10, I would say a lot of people think of this question as, oh my God, would I kill 10 people just to save one? Well, you have to reverse it. Would you kill one person
exactly
to save 10?
Yeah.
Of course. And then it gets more complicated. I've heard variations of this question. So moving on to a separate topic. It gets more complicated because I've heard variations of this question where it's like, what if that one person was a relative or a friend? And in that case, I would say still the just thing to do is to save those 10 people.
Yeah.
Those 10 people also have family and friends. And of course, humans are motivated by self-interest, but I don't know. Obviously, I don't think any of us will ever be in this situation in real life behind the wheel. But I honestly don't know what I would do. I think that I would know in the back of my head if, say, one of my relatives was that person or someone I knew. I would know in the back of my head that I should save those 10 people and that's the right thing to do. Just objectively save those 10 people. But would I be clouded by my self-interest? I don't know. It's a tough question because you're fighting against your human instincts, which is save your relatives, save the people you're close to, versus objective morality, but not what I mean. I don't mean objective morality versus judgment. And yeah, in that case, I think if we're just looking at it as from a spectator view and we're not even actually in the situation, always better if the 10 people. That's my final answer, essentially.
Yeah. I've heard another variation. I don't know if you have, but I think I have. The variation is it's still you save 10 people and kill one, or you save one person and injure 10. And so I think in that case, that changes a lot of it. There's no guaranteed death for those 10 people. So you try to save as many lives as you can. So you would go for the latter. At least that's like, yeah. And then again, it depends on, how significant those injuries are. But
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard that variation. That's interesting.
That's probably just me then.
No, but that's actually interesting. It makes it a lot more. Well, it's already multidimensional, but it gives it an extra dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already given my final answer. What's your final answer? And then we can go on to the next question.
Oh, if you're going to save, I thought
in the original circumstance where it's kill 1 to save 10 or kill 10 to save 1.
Kill 1 to save 10 rather than kill 10 to save 1.
Okay, so the next question is a lot less complex. It's just a question about ourselves, and that is, how long have we known each other?
Well, Amelia's a year younger than I am. So I was a sophomore when she was a freshman.
Right.
I don't really know how we really got to know each other. I don't think we really
I remember.
Really?
Yes, we would go. I would go to the library every day after school with people.
And
you just became friends through mutual friends, basically.
Yeah.
That's like basically it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Yeah, that was a quick and easy question. So it's been about a year.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What are you guys' favorite books?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Chad's like, I haven't read For Pleasure in like 3 years.
Yeah. I don't really read.
Chad, shut up. You read. You just don't read a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me think. What are my favorite books? Oh my god, I have a couple. Is it okay if I say?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I really, really like To Kill a Mockingbird. That's
but that was like kind of school. So I mean, I read it for school.
Well, I read it for school, but I also read it before and after that. And then also Why We Can't Wait by Martin Luther King. It was summer reading, and afterwards I just read the whole book because it was just I don't know. I really like the way Martin Luther King writes and like speaks in general. Mm-hmm. And then my other one is The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Do you know about that book or no?
No, but it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, Richard Dawkins is basically this just like very, very prominent what's the word I'm looking for? Non-religious philosopher, and he basically is debunking all of religion in this book. So it's written in quite strict and passionate rhetoric, but it's really good.
Yeah.
All right, your turn. What are your favorite books?
For reading for pleasure, I like James Patterson. His murder mysteries are always a good read. I guess my favorite books, at least the ones I've read, like for school, I like Great Expectations. That was pretty good.
Yes, I forgot to say that.
Yeah, Macbeth was also. I liked it. Not a lot of people liked it, but I liked it a lot. Wuthering Heights is also a really good book. That was an interesting book. It's slow at times, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Great Expectations. The second I stopped, talking, and the second you said it, like I realized I forgot. Great Expectations is literally one of my favorite books. I have a Charles Dickens print on my wall that my mom got like 4 years ago or something. But now I actually like it because I've actually read the book by him. But yeah, no, I literally love Dickens.
Yeah.
And then for school, I don't know about books, but there are a couple like philosophers that I like that we read. I liked Lucretius. I like Seneca. Those are both Roman philosophers. You're like, I have not thought about this in like 2 years. Yeah. But in general, I honestly, what about? I don't know about you, Chad, but I basically just enjoy the school reading. Like I don't feel a need to like read.
Yeah, that's true.
We have school reading, and because I honestly like it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, we had to, as freshmen, we have like a history research paper we have to do, and I did mine on Seneca, and didn't go that well.
We didn't have the paper because of COVID. So
yeah, you guys. I mean, it was like kind of fun. Not really. You had to write like back then 5 pages was a lot because we were expected to write like, I don't know, 3 pages to 4 pages papers in freshman year, or maybe I don't know, but
most people in my grade write like 2-page papers.
Yeah, but the history, the research paper was definitely a big step up for at least when I was a freshman. So it was hard, but it was also like kind of fun. Yeah.
I skipped out on that. Also, I want to correct myself. Usually, it's anywhere from like 2 to 4 pages.
Yeah. You definitely want quality over quantity. That's always
for sure.
That's always
all right. That was a good question. Okay, next question is: do you think there should be an age limit on who can run for president?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what is it right now? I really don't know who.
There is no age limit.
There is no age limit?
Chad, come on. There is no age limit. How do you think a 78-year-old and a 74-year-old are running this year? Yeah, no, there is
no. You need to be at least 35 years old. There is.
No. I mean like an age cap. Sorry, as in like a.
Oh.
Sorry, I guess I got that from the question, but I definitely should have been more clear. I think this person means as in like should 80-year-old, 90-year-olds be able to run?
Oh, I thought you meant like younger people.
Yeah,
like,
my bad. Maybe. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And personally, I think yes. What do you think?
Oh, so you're saying like if I guess you can run for president when you're let's just take 80 for an example. Say you run for president while you're 78, but you get inaugurated at 79 and you turn 80 during your like is that okay or like how
well so okay, so let's back up for a second. If an age limit were to happen, what I've heard people talking about is it would be like you can't be above the age limit when you start your campaign, when you start running, like as in when you get the primary nomination.
Oh, okay.
But in general, if we are to take a step back and actually discuss our thoughts on that, personally, don't get me wrong, I'm still Biden 2020, but not crazy about this whole idea that we have really, really, really old men running.
I mean
gender is relevant, but you know what I mean. Very, very.
But the citizens of America were the ones who chose those old men. You could have chose, what was his name, Buttigieg. He was like,
no, I'm aware,
young. So it's up to you to vote. Yeah, so you had 100%. The option to pick young people. It
definitely shows a problem with our system that near 80-year-olds are getting the nominations.
Yeah,
but if we ignore that factor, obviously it's very hard to ignore such a major factor, but just bear with me. If we look at it as if everyone has an even playing field and no one has the support of the people, I think in general, I think that a lot of the resistance to change and some of the reason why we've seen slow change, obviously there are many other reasons that change is slow in this country. But one of them is that we have people who are from 4 generations ago representing us. And no, am I saying that we should have a millennial president? Not at all. No. There's a reason that people who have at least 10 to 20 years of experience have a much better chance than 5 years of experience. But still, I think that if I were to make an age cap, maybe it would be, I don't know. I mean, to throw out a number of 70.
I don't really think age should really matter. I think it's even if they are old, but they hold ideas that are better for our country, then yes, I think they should be elected, and age just shouldn't be a factor. But taking into consideration that a lot of people are old and they don't necessarily hold the ideas that are needed for our country, an age limit does seem like a pretty good idea.
Okay, so the next question we have is, Are you religious? If so, slash if not, why?
Oh,
Chad, you want to go first or should I?
well, I think we covered this in our second episode, I think.
Yeah, we did cover
like
we can roll
religion.
it again.
Yeah. So pretty much I'm not religious. I wouldn't consider myself an atheist. Like, I don't hate God. I don't think he that's not what being an atheist means, but I have nothing against religion, or not much against religion at the moment. I'm not so
Right.
sure. But
So you're sort of like agnostic?
yeah, I don't like if someone's religious and they push it on me, I'll be like, okay, cool. I don't really care. But yeah, I mean, my grandma's religious. She doesn't really push anything onto me, so I don't really have a problem with it.
All right. Yeah, no. I totally see that. It sounds like, I don't know if this is how you identify like yourself as, but sounds like you're basically agnostic. Like, you don't personally believe in God, but you're completely open to it and don't really have a problem.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Listeners can't see this, but he just pointed his finger and started nodding. So yes, I do think he is agnostic. Okay. Personally, I am an atheist. I think I'm almost in the exact same camp that you're in, but you said you don't really have anything against religion. Whereas, I mean, I have been like attacked by the church before
Yeah.
and it wasn't the greatest thing growing up. So I don't know. To be blunt, I've been called a sinner a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I do have something against it.
Yeah.
And then also, even if that wasn't part of growing up for me, I do still think I would be a very devoted atheist because of a couple of reasons. I think that everything can be explained by science or logic, or there's an explanation for everything, essentially. And so the idea that the supernatural exists directly contradicts that. And then secondly, I think that there are a lot of toxicities to religion in general. Wait, crop this part out. I don't want to say that. Do not want to say that. I don't want, because I was thinking about it. We have a lot of religious people at our school that are listening to this. Like, Cloudy is Jewish and all this stuff. So crop that all out. Let me restart. But even if I didn't have those parts of like my childhood that were, well, not childhood, but like my younger years that were affected by the church in that way, I still think I would be a very devoted atheist for a few reasons. Just to name a couple, I think that everything can be explained within either a scientific or logical explanation. I think that there's a cause to every effect. And so the idea that the supernatural exists contradicts that. And then also, there are just a lot of contradictions and sort of ideas that I don't fully see as right within religion. However, with that being said, my entire family is religious. Almost all my friends are religious. So I don't have a problem with people. It's just, some objections to the institution, or not the institution, the beliefs themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, some of them like are outdated. They were made like thousands of years ago.
Right. Like, not to be too controversial, but I just don't think that the texts were written by people who didn't know what atoms or germs were are necessarily the ultimate guides to life. Yeah. But that is just a playful joke. I don't mean any harm. Next question. So, reveal your daily screen time. Damn, this is kind of different. Okay.
Oh, screen time.
Oh,
Lord.
Oh, shoot. You go first, Chad.
Wait, what do you mean, oh, shoot?
I just saw my screen time. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a limit on TikTok. I think it's like an hour a day.
Oh, you're lucky.
What do you mean lucky? You can put your own. You can put your own limit. My average is 2.5 hours. So
2.5.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't know. During the school year, my screen time's like less than an hour. Usually like 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah.
I am so shocked. Wow, I'm so bad now. Today is I don't even know if I can say this. I'm embarrassed. I
It's
mean,
fine.
it's 7.5 today.
Oh my lord.
Anyways,
Okay, yeah.
next question. That was a fun one. What do you wish you were better at?
Oh. Uh, I don't really know. Um, you should try to answer it first.
Bro, everything. Like, who wouldn't want to be better at everything? But specifically, probably math. I
Yeah.
feel like I can like improve. I am naturally sort of, well, not sort of. I am naturally a humanities person, and if I want to
Yeah.
improve that, like I have fun working towards goals. Whereas math, it's like if I want to improve in math, it's really hard to garner motivation to get better in STEM. So I wish I A had the motivation and B was better. And then in terms of like just other stuff, I don't know. I mean, I play basketball. It wouldn't hurt to be better at basketball. I honestly would never ever object to being better at anything.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. For me personally, I'm more of a STEM guy. So yeah, so maybe humanities, yeah, that would help. But I've, you learn, you improve, you can get there. But yeah, it would be nice to, I guess, put in less effort if you're better at it naturally. I also play, I also play ice hockey. That'd be nice to get better at it. Yeah.
Yeah. How about if we to make this question a little more interesting? What do you wish you were like talented at or good at that you don't already do? Like personally,
I don't already do.
Yeah, I think it'd be really
Okay.
cool personally if if I could speak multiple languages because
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
that's
even
cool.
I'm not even bilingual.
Yeah. I don't really know. It's almost asking like if you had a superpower, what would it be?
What's
Or
like
just,
something that if you had the time you would pick up or you would want to do,
mm,
and then something like that thing you would want to be better at?
I don't know. I've always wanted to learn how to code, but I never really found the motivation to learn it. So yeah,
No, that's a good answer.
that'd be cool.
All right. Next question. Are there any circumstances where lying, stealing, adultery, or murder is justified?
Let me just look up the definition of adultery.
It's like cheating on your spouse.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Personally, hold on. You go first with this one.
Okay. Lying, yes. If it's a white lie, no. If it's, just blatantly lying. And also, like, what do you get out of lying? Like, you don't really gain anything. You just live with
Well,
that guilt.
I don't
know.
think
At least, I mean, some people are good liars and they can get away with a lot of things.
well, no. Like
I don't know.
I think you're forgetting these circumstances where you're lying to make someone feel better about themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's white lies. I said white lies were okay.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I made that clear.
Lying to try and control the image, like try and sometimes revealing the truth to people can like set them in a spiral. So again, that sort of is making people feel better, but in general, like damage control, simplifying things. How about stealing?
Stealing, it depends what you're stealing. Like if you're doing,
the question is it justified? Just to be clear,
is it justified to steal? According to the law, no. But I can see like the reasons why some people would steal, like if they, don't have the money to afford things or something like that. Adultery, definitely. Adultery just doesn't seem justified at all. Like that's kind of, I don't know.
100% agree. Adultery and murder, not at all. Lying and stealing, in some cases, but I'm not encouraging it.
Yeah, I don't know where this question was going.
Well, I know. I think they were asking an ethical question. Okay, so I think we've answered that question to the best of our ability. The next question that we have is something that I've seen actually a lot on TikTok, and like to give you some context, like people sometimes, if they see a video that they really agree with, or if someone's like talking about something in a video and they put something very well, or they say something that a lot of people agree with, people in the comments will say, "Did you stutter?" or "Did they stutter?" As in like, "Oh, you didn't stutter. You were ranting consistently, and you articulated your point well."
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is saying "Did they stutter" ableist? I mean, yeah, and to be clear, ableist just means discriminatory against people with disabilities. And I don't know, I've personally, in situations like this, when you're asking if something is discriminatory to a certain group of people, the best resource you have to try and figure out if it is discriminatory is that group of people. And so I'm trying to go by like the people on TikTok who actually have diagnosed stutters and what I've seen them say. And what personally, I've seen a mixture of things. I've seen some people with stutters on TikTok say, well, everyone stutters at times, even if you don't have a diagnosed stutter, it's completely fine. But I've also seen some people with stutters on TikTok saying, well, no, saying "did you stutter" in order to praise someone is essentially saying it makes your point less valid if you stutter. And I don't know. Like I said, ultimate resource for this type of thing are the people who are being discriminated against. But since I've heard mixed reviews, that makes it a lot more complex.
Well, they both have valid points. Jesus Christ. I think the one you said, the second one you said, I think it was like if you stutter, then it brings less value. I think it's fine if you stutter. Like everyone stutters. You stutter sometimes,
Right.
and I stutter sometimes, but it doesn't really, it doesn't really devalue what you say. You say what you say,
But that's not what they're saying. That's just saying that's what the phrase "did they stutter" conveys. That's the underlying message. That's their argument.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Do you want to hear my?
I guess just try to avoid saying it if you can. Just say "go off" or something like that. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of people in my grade just say "go off." No, not many people really say, "Did you hear them stutter?"
Yeah, actually, literally, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think if in instances where it's not black and white, where it's not easy to see, where some people are saying one thing and the other people are saying another, your best bet is just going with the people who say it's discriminatory, because you wouldn't want to ever be unintentionally or accidentally discriminatory. So, like, honestly, just replace it with like "did you lie?" or like you said, other things. I don't know. It's just not a necessary phrase, and if it causes this type of question to be asked, better to just avoid it, if that makes sense.
I just wish people had this kind of mindset when I was in grade school or elementary school. Oh my Lord.
What do you mean?
I mean, at least for me personally, I definitely didn't. I know some people have had pretty impactful, I guess, childhoods because, the normalized racism against Asians weren't really like spoken out until like a decade later. I know when I was really, really young, like people would ask me like, "Do you eat dogs or cats? Do you like is the pinky is sticking up your pinky like the middle finger?" And then people would say my my lunch smelled and like say "ching chong," and call me a chink on the ice rink or something like that. I don't know. It's there and like no one like apparently the word chink is supposed to be the N word for Asians. Still, a lot of people say it, and it just doesn't really have that big of effect on me personally. But I know some people, because of all of that, they've just learned to like hate Chinese culture in general and just not accept it at all when they were young, because everyone around them were just like were just bartering them because they were Chinese or Asian in general.
Yeah, actually, like I actually really appreciate you mentioning that. You're basically saying like you wish that people were like asking these questions, sort of like, is this ableist versus is this racist? In the experiences you've heard, because like, are you basically saying like it's good that at least people are asking this question?
Yeah,
because
pretty
in
much.
so many experiences, in so many instances, questions like these aren't asked when they should be.
Yeah, but then again, we were in like elementary school.
Yeah,
That also shows that like it's a part of the culture, it's a part of society that like even little kids ask these questions. So
100%.
I don't
100%.
know. There are too many problems, but
There are too many problems. Facts. I could not agree more. All right, we ready for the next question?
yeah.
Okay, so next question is, okay, you're gonna have to take this because I have not studied it yet.
Okay.
You prepared to take this question? And don't feel like you have to give too much of an answer. Just like do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Marxism?
Marxism. I think it's a great idea. Like it definitely addresses many problems with our capitalist society, and I think it works, but it works best on paper and not necessarily best with humans in general. I've gone into many discussions with various types of people about Marxism and whether it works or not. I think most people agree that Marxism does work on paper, but it just comes down to what you think um, human nature is like. So I think the biggest dispute between people who think Marxism works in the real world and people who think, Marxism doesn't work is the fact that people who think it doesn't work is because they think that humans in general, are inherently greedy and selfish, and that these two qualities are going to just destroy the society, just destroy everything that Marxism creates. But the people on the other side who say that Marxism works thinks that people's passion and people's empathy are enough to overtake greed and what's the other thing I mentioned? Greed and selfishness. I mean, they're essentially the same thing, but whatever. That it'll overtake greed and selfishness. So those are the two main that I've seen. The two reasons why people think that Marxism works and Marxism doesn't work.
Yeah, no, actually, that was like a really, really good answer. You even just listening to you taught me a lot about Marxism. I mean, to be fair, I don't really have much of a foundation. I'm excited to take this class
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's not the entire class, but obviously, I think you read the Communist Manifesto in this class, right?
Yeah, you do. It's pretty fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the days when I can actually answer that question.
Yeah, I'm also like kind of surprised because I know a lot of most people, at least me, even going into the class, I had no idea the difference between socialism, communism, and capitalism. I had no idea what they were. So yeah.
All right. Well, okay, so we're actually almost done. So there are a couple more questions. Might have to edit out the It was kind of obnoxious.
That's fine.
Opinions. Oh God, this is a heavy one. Opinions on the current state of the world right now.
We could be doing better.
We could be doing better. This is more than just a little bit of unsatisfactory. This is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just list off like crisis after crisis.
Yeah. Wait, what was the exact question again? What are our thoughts about
opinions on the current state of the world right now? Oh. So how about to simplify it? Yes, how does the current state of the world right now make you feel? Like what are your, when you think about it, what things come into your head?
The Simpsons were right, and the world is gonna end next year.
Personally, like for the most part, well, not even for the most part, like we are lucky to live in a place where all the things that we're hearing about, we're simply hearing about. We're not experiencing, right? I mean, obviously, no one's life is perfect, but the crises that are going on, like we're not being affected by. For example, we're not in Lebanon. We're not in California where there are forest fires. No, both. We're not in all these places that we could be where it's so much worse. But still the knowledge that all these things are going on definitely weighs heavy at times, at least for me. How about you? At times it really does get me down.
I think a lot of this it's at least to me, it's so insane. I personally don't really look into what's happening internationally. Of course, I know that like what's going on in Lebanon and Yemen and California, but yeah, it's just very unfortunate. I don't know if there's much else to add, because you can't, like, you can help, but it happened. It's just kind of unfortunate.
Right, 100%. Personally, I think that there are two main like reactions I have to it, and one I've already stated, and that is just extreme disappointment and, to be quite frank, like just sadness about what's going on. And then the second one is kind of anticipation / hope, because like
That's true.
We've touched on this earlier in this episode, and that is Gen Z is a very left-leaning generation, very, very progressive. And by progressive, I mean both the political ideology, but also this idea that we need to change, that we're oriented towards change and restructuring, which is exactly what we need right now. And so the knowledge that we at least don't have a generation that thinks that the idea that the knowledge that we have a generation that knows about these issues and also has the same objections to them that you and I do is quite comforting at times. And it can also give me a little bit of anticipation. Like I'm so excited to see what happens when Gen Z can finally, vote and hold positions in government.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that was our last question. So, all right. So thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the Free Thought Podcast. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions for us, feel free to email us at thefreethoughtpodcast@gmail.com. That's thefreethoughtpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much.